Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live, and I'm here with Chandra again with Aran and Franklin Engineering. And for the last couple of weeks, we've been covering TWIA. We talked about it the week before the meeting. They went into the meeting. It was voted on over 2/3, and for a price hike, we came back and let y'all know exactly what's going on. But Chandra's been doing some eavesdropping, and not really eavesdropping, but watching um, what our representatives, and I'm sure Mays Middleton's probably involved with this, what our representatives are doing on fighting. And I don't understand it all, so I'm going to let her explain what they've been doing.
So Friday the 16th, the House Committee on State Affairs, they had a hearing, and it's about 3 hours long, and I'm going to send you the link to the video, but it was a hearing on TWIA funding and state oversight. And so David Durden, along with the Commissioner of Insurance, Cassie Brown, and a representative from OPEC and a couple of others, provided testimony to the committee. And the commissioner of that committee is the chair of that committee is Todd Hunter of Nueces County, who has been a very vocal advocate for no rate hikes, and is very good at getting his constituent base to respond whenever there's call for public comment or even show up for public comment. He shows up to almost all the TWIA meetings, board meetings, committee meetings, anytime that he can speak out against rate hikes or change in the funding structure, he is there. Whether it's either in person or on Zoom, because we do have that option to work, with his schedule. So it was really interesting. I've only watched about half of it, but I mean, they were very hard hitting and talking to TWIA about what was the real need for this 10%, and talk about the additional ABC, the 13% average that people are experiencing, and their rate increases already, even without, adding the 10%. They were really hard hitting about, what our funding structure looked like and how we needed to change that. So I think that there's a lot. I mean, we're only a week and a half out from the TWIA meeting, and we're already getting this legislative, pressure on TWIA, the commissioner, OPIC, and everyone to try to do something different with the TWIA funding. And I think that's a really good step in the right direction.
So our representatives are fighting for us already.
And I think that's such a good thing. I mean, we can't expect Todd Hunter or one or two people to really, take this torch and run with it. It's, even if you don't live in a coastal county, if you are impacted by what happens in a coastal county, if you're impacted by, I want a vacation there, I'd like shellfish from there, I want to go on a charter fishing trip from there. Like, we have to have those things available to you if you're farther inland as well. So don't feel like just because, we're in the coast that we have to pressure our representatives. We need a lot of support outside of just the coastal region in order to make this happen, because this is going to be a legislative issue, and that's like, what, 450 something votes in order to be able to, potential votes, and you have to have a majority to get that. So we have to have a lot of support in order to make some initiative changes and changes to the TWIA funding structure. That's a lot of outreach that the staffers for the coastal representatives or the TWIA members have to go and outreach to these non-coastal members and educate them on why it's important that we make the change, so they'll vote that way. So there's a lot of outreach that has to be done between now and January in order to get some of these initiatives done, so that we can make some substantial changes. But this is a great first step, and I'm really excited to see that it's starting so soon after that rate vote.
You brought up a good thing, and this is a different way for me in the tourism part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up a good part. If investors or homeowners can't afford the home because the insurance goes up, then and I've already heard some people say, man, it's just getting so expensive, I don't know how long I'm going to keep it. But also, one of the big things, that the cost of homes and then the insurance. I mean, myself, I've been down here 30 some years. I do not own a home on Bolivar Peninsula,
Right.
because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, I rent a home.
Well,
But
and think about that. I mean, if the person who does own it has to pay that insurance
right,
cost,
it
you're
goes
going to
up,
attack
it
up your
goes
rent.
up, it
And
goes
so
up.
you will be impacted by that.
But
So,
what it does affect really hard down here is employees,
mhm,
because the employees down here are in the grocery business, the store retail business, the
mhm,
restaurant business, and that's one of our biggest things. A lot of our employees at some of the big businesses down here come in from Winnie and High Island and travel across from Galveston because they can't afford. I mean, depending on where your house is, you've got your house note, but and you can afford that. But when you add insurance onto it, it'll double your house, what
right.
you're expecting to have to pay, versus you go inland and it's a whole different ball game. And so that's how it affects us is in the tourism part is
Yeah.
employees. And we I know there was a builder down here that even looked at building smaller homes
Hmm.
to see if he could do it for employee housing. And it's just, you just can't do it and have
Yeah.
the insurance that you need. And so, even if you're in Dallas or East Texas up in Longview, you need to fight this because that's where our visitors come and they enjoy it down here. They love the community, they love the atmosphere, and they love the beach that we can drive on. And so, it could affect us in the long run down the road.
One of the things they talked about was having a tiering system for different rates for different how close you are to the coast, even if you're in the coastal region, which currently they kind of do, but not really. I mean,
Huh?
basically, they were talking about making that. It would be a little more expensive for somebody that had like a beachfront home versus somebody who lived in Lake City or Friendswood, who's still
Right.
in the windstorm coastal, county, but not so close to the water. But I mean, we have other hazards outside of the beach. I mean, y'all have, of course, wave action and direct wind, and you don't have anything to block it, which we get. But when you get a little farther inland, the wind speeds may be lower, but we're talking about trees that are being uprooted and
Right.
lots of other debris that's
And a
flying
lot of
because
flooding.
there's so much more concentration of homes. So there's different challenges in both scenarios. But I do think that there's less risk as you move inland.
Right.
And you are building homes above the floodplain, and you're building homes in master plan communities where they've taken into account all the flooding, and we're building homes to the wind code and to a higher standard. And I just think all those things are good things, but they should get some kind of benefit for building
Right.
to that higher code as well, and being a little bit closer inland. Because if you're in High Island or Winnie or Galveston, like, why should you pay as much as, well, maybe Galveston, some parts of it,
Right.
but other parts of it more inland, like, why should you pay as much as somebody that's, looking at the ocean that doesn't have any protection from a hurricane?
Right.
So, I mean, I could kind of see that, that a tiered system might work, but more than that, the funding structure itself and how
Right.
we're funded is just got to change. It's just not sustainable the way it is. Right now we're going to exhaust from Barrel. We're pretty much going to exhaust our entire catastrophe reserve fund. So our bank account's gone. We have nothing left. And if we had another storm this year, which this is still August, like this is the peak of hurricane season. Okay, knock on wood. But
Knock
I mean,
on wood.
this is the peak, and so it's
Right.
like we still have 3 more months of potential hurricanes. And if something were to happen, the next layer of funding is we have to take bonds, which means we have to pay those back, and that's a loan.
Right.
And then if we get through that, then it goes to assessments to the insurance companies, and really those should be flipped. I mean, if the first thing that we shouldn't have to do is start writing checks. Like the first thing we should do is say, okay, y'all share and help us.
Right.
And then the next thing maybe above that, okay, then we'll start writing checks and taking out, loans. And then of course, if we take out a loan, what has to happen?
It
We
has
have
to be
to raise
paid
rates
back.
to be paid back.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So it's just an opposite way of thinking. And this funding structure was set up, 40 years ago. Like it's time to change it.
Do you think that with the everything that's going on that we can see a funding structure coming?
I do think it's going to change. I don't know how quickly it's going to change because it's, like I said, you've got to have a lot of support. And, you might have 30, 40, 50, representatives that are in that coastal delegation that are really going to be pushing that. But that's not the whole House of Representatives. We've got to get more inland support. We have to show them why it's beneficial for them. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of discussion about shared risk because there's other risks of wildfires in the Austin Bastrop area. There's risk of hail, storms, tornadoes in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I think it's some kind of joint catastrophe pool versus just a TWIA catastrophe pool might make sense, so that, again, we all share that burden, and then the next tier is like, okay, the insurance companies share the burden before anybody goes to taking out loans to pay for claims. So I just think that makes the most sense. But even better than that, I mean, what do we need TWIA for? Let's just make these insurance companies write policies in Texas. If you want to work in Texas, you've got to write everything. And, put pressure on State Farm, put pressure on Allstate, put pressure on USAA, put pressure on all these farmers and Farm Bureau, big companies that, look, guys, if you want to write auto, if you want to write life, if you want to write, regular home builder policy, you're going to have to write wind.
Yeah.
And that's that. Now, flood, NFIP can still handle flood, and that's fine, but we got to take all those other perils and wrap them into one policy. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we're going along on this one. We're going to keep you updated, and these shows over the next, probably, I would say 2 months, probably through the end of the year, really, are going to be TWIA related, because we still have to go. It's gone to the insurance. People are fighting on it, and before it can do anything, it has to go to the governor. And so this is going to be a process through November, December. And so we're going to keep you informed here, letting you know exactly what's going on, what your representatives and people are doing to fight for you. But you can fight. And that's the biggest thing is, right into the insurance group, talk to your representatives, voice your opinion, because this doesn't affect just the people in the coastal region. It can affect everyone down the road. And it's one of those deals where I feel it may not affect us right this minute, but as time goes on, it'll snowball, and all of a sudden your favorite place to relax, vacation, and live the coastal life may be harder to find a place to stay or enjoy a restaurant and stuff. And so we really have to stay on top of this. I know the realtors down here are working on it. I know the developers down here are working on it. And we've got some insurance companies that are actually helping work on some of the TWIA stuff and COBRA stuff too, that we're working on now. So stay tuned. We'll be back next week with more information. And I think we're going to talk about the 7 changes that were forecast or talked about in the TWIA meeting. So until next time, I'm David with Chandra with Aran and Franklin Engineering. Y'all have a great day, great week comes to this. God bless, and bye-bye.